sweets. They've only been braided since Friday? No, Saturday morning. I put them in 2 braids. So I figured today we just have a conversation. Are y'all good with that? You know, I realize that people regurgitate information a lot on social media, even within friend groups, you know. Hey, Music Soul Child. Hey. Hey, Jay Ginger. Welcome in, guys. So I know I'm going to wait for a few minutes, just a few minutes. Hey, sweets. Hey, sis. How are you? Hope you had a good night last night at work and stuff. Hey, Dapper. Okay, I got some moderators on both sides. And let us get started. So today, I love you too, sis. Thank you. Thank you guys for tapping the screen. Shout out King, welcome in over here. Thank you all for the thumbs up. So I don't have any meditations prepared this morning. And I actually laid in bed and pondered whether or not I was going to go live, but I received this message from one of my chosen family members, and it said something about being consistent and showing up consistently, and it resonated with me. And you know who you are. Thank you for that message that I needed this morning. Welcome in, Jesse. Hey, Mama Nista, how are you? So I am exhausted this morning. This weekend I did a lot of driving, a lot of walking, did a lot of peopling, but I also did a lot of planning and a lot of positive things, you know. But I was laying in bed and I was like, you know, 10 years ago I'd be like today, you know. But we're not 40 anymore. We're in our 50s. We're a little bit older. So let us move a little bit differently. Let us move a little wiser. Let us listen to our bodies and let our bodies tell us what exactly we need to do. Good morning, fam. You know, so that being said, I want to talk to you this morning. I'm going to talk to you guys about transparency. And when you are in this world, thank you, I love you. When you're in this world, yes, I did go see Diamond, and I enjoyed that. I got to play with Seven. I'm gonna put that. I got to get my baby fix. Okay, so we're just gonna put it like that because they take shit and run with it, right? I got to spend some time with my sister, have a conversation with my sister. You know, and just talk about some things, right? So, what is transparency? People, you guys hear me talk about transparency and living a life of being transparent as opposed to just being honest, right? Transparency takes a lot of discipline, guys. All right, it's more than just a word, okay? One of you guys can look it up in Google or on ChatGPT and ask what the definition of transparency is. Hi, Yasir, you know. But I'm going to give you my life living in this moment. And I have been evolving up to this point for a while, you know, like I had this running joke with my chosen family members, you know, like, she lying, y'all, because I could feel it. But my as my gifts continue to get heightened, my sense of feeling other people's emotions and feeling their aura and feeling them is really heightening. And I also know that while that is happening, I am shifting, right? But I'm shifting in a way that I need to shift. I'm moving in a way that I need to move for my personal growth. Meanwhile, I know that there are some important relationships in my life that I want to maintain. Um, and while I shift, I want to make sure that those people in my world never feel the um, the repercussions of the shift. Because with the shift, when you are shifting emotionally, spiritually, or whatever, you have to, part of you must be let go, right? So part of you, yes, transparency is when you stand on what you say and do and mean it by understanding, also understanding emotions. Yes, it is. Um, but I've noticed that my delivery with how I ask questions is flawed, because I just ask the question, hey, blah 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 blah, and I want an answer. I want the answer without the um, I want to be able to, if you ask me a question, I just want you to ask the question. I don't need you to preface it with a big speech about why. I want you to understand that if I'm asking you a question because I'm living my life in transparency, right? That if I ask you a question, it's not coming with the unnecessary baggage that we have been taught to carry with us, right? So I told you my specialty is behavioral modification. So if I can't change my own behaviors, how can I help others? So I have literally been doing a lot of work on me so that I can show up for you and do what I need to for you, right? As your shaman, as your, you know, whatever role I play in your world, be it um, professional, personal, you know, intimately, you know, because my husband watches, you know, that whatever role I play in your world, that you know where I'm coming from. So let's get down to the basics, okay? We're going to talk about me, and then I want you to flip this around and figure out what it means for you. Okay, so if you have the opportunity, get you a piece of paper, because today you might want to take some notes, okay? Because I'm going to drop a few gems. First and foremost, check yourself, right? Check yourself. You need to see where your intentions lie, right? And that means going within and seeing where your heart is and exactly what does that mean for you and who you are, right? I I plan on being the example for what I speak, right? I stand 10 toes down with whatever I am saying to you. And if I am wrong, I accept responsibility for any shortcomings I may have, because I'm human, right? But if I'm wrong, feel free to correct me. I'm human. No one is perfect, and we're all learning. So we should be able to have like conversations that are real with one another, right? So we talk about communication, and we have these panels, and I see a lot of them when I'm flipping through, and I really stopped flipping through social media a lot. Like whenever I click off here, I don't go and like go to other pages and seek. When I shut off, guys. And that's not how I was a year ago. Thank you for the heart. I mean, thank you guys. Please make sure you all are sharing this out. Okay. But first and foremost, check your heart. Now, mind you, all of this is coming straight from the dome. I did not write this down. I laid in bed and literally had a conversation within. It was like, okay, what are we going to do today? Because we did not write any meditations. We are going to play. I will play. But I also want to have a frank discussion with you all, right? And I want you all to think about the things that I'm proposing for you all. To live a life of transparency, you must first check yourself. See where your intentions are. Are you willing to be exposed? Right? It takes a high level of exposure. Okay? I come on here and I am very exposed in a world that, thank you, that I'm protecting. But I share with you my world because through my experiences, you guys may learn from them. And that is my role as a shaman, is to teach. I teach, I lead, I guide, I give you the ancient wisdom of our ancestors that is brought, given to me, that's downloaded to me. And I don't sit up here and I don't, you know, gatekeep information because I don't feel the need to do so, and I tell you guys time and time again that you're in not competition with anyone. You're not in competition with anyone but yourself. You should be striving to be a better version of you. So I am challenging each of you to start living a life of transparency. And in order to do that, you must first come to terms with who you are as a person. Accept who you are as a person, your faults, the things that you bring to the table, the things that you don't, and be willing to learn, new ways of existing, right? I literally had, I think it was almost an argument with my sister over the weekend when I asked a question I just wanted an answer to. And there was nothing that I was feeling, right? It was literally like, do you really want to do this? And it was only because of the concern that I have for her and what I was feeling, okay? And my heart is pure, okay? Yes, I have a past. Yes, but my intentions are pure. And I have come to terms with the fact that I have to be pretty much for you all to see who I am, right? So that means I can't put up a facade and act like I'm this way and I'm really this way. Yeah, I'm spiritual, but I'm also about that life, okay? And I'm not talking about like gangster or anything like that. I'm just saying, like, I'm going to keep it real with you, and I know how to protect me and mine. I look, I might look soft, but trust me, this girl used to box, okay? Do I plan on doing that anymore? Nah. But if I need to, I will pull out those skills, okay? First thing I'm gonna do is kick the shit out you because it's kickboxing, all right? That's all I gotta say. Anyway, hey, Cole. So, if you have a lot of secrets that you have to keep hidden, transparency is not the life for you. Okay? I'm just going to put it like that. All right? And I'm being very serious. And I might joke around, but I am being very serious in what I'm saying. If you have a lot of secrets, or if you're doing some real devilish stuff or conniving stuff, or if you don't have the purest intentions whenever you are engaging with other people, then transparency is not for you. You need to continue living the life that you live until you're ready for that. Because there's nothing that any of you all can say to me about me that's going to catch me off guard, or it's going to be like, oh my God, how'd you find out about that? Because I don't have anything to hide, right? But that came with a lot of work and a lot of acceptance of things that, and accountability of things that I have done in the past, a lot of work, okay? Like a lot of shadow work. And I'm still working through things, you know? I find it sad that we cannot just ask a question without the people who are closest to you feeling as though there is a secondary agenda behind the question, right? And I know that the delivery of questions is very important in how you speak to people, okay? I'm very blunt and to the point. If I think you're full of shit, I'm just going to say you're full of shit, okay? I am extremely transparent, okay? Because again, I'm going to say authenticity has been proven to be the highest vibration that you can be. But I'm on a quest to prove that transparency is higher than authenticity, right? So that does mean that whenever you do share, right, you do it with clarity, authenticity, no mask, no half-truths, but also consider the source that's coming to you and asking you a question. I don't like to play games. I don't have time for it. My life is very, very busy. Sometimes I have a whole conversation in my head and then I'm looking at you, waiting for you to answer the question that I asked in my head. Okay, these things are happening. This is what happens when you're neurodivergent. Sometimes you think that you're saying what you're thinking, but you didn't really say it out loud. You said it in your head. My husband will tell you, we've had these things where I'm looking at him like, are you gonna answer the question? He's like, well, are you gonna answer it? Okay, these things happen, but it's a learning thing. Okay, everybody's learning. All right, so I might just look at you and you be like, what? And then just assume that I asked you a question and I probably kept it in my head. Okay, I just want you to know that about me and your interactions with me, because in about 30 something days, I am launching my baby. Okay, I am launching my end game. I'm launching Elysium LBC. Okay, and this is just the beginning. All right, you guys have been on this journey with me since I started LoveBugCentral with a group of people. LoveBugCentral is a movement. It is not just a movement, but it's also a way of life. Choosing love, loving on purpose, is not something that you need to take lightly, okay? In a world full of negativity, choose love, love on purpose. Those words hold weight. All right? It's a statement that is supposed to stay here because it's a choice that you're making every day in every interaction that you have with people. Right? In every single interaction that you have with people. And I know my mouth can be slick, okay? I'm going to tell you, my words are they will cut you, okay? Because I am a Sagittarian, true and through. I'm from the DMV. We don't play, Okay. And I know everybody thinks that their little city, you know, they rep, whatever. I don't take anything away from where you're from. I just know how I was brought up, you know. And I had a little of the softness from living in Pennsylvania, but I also got a little of that country girl from living in Pennsylvania. But then I got the city girl too. So you got a mixture of both dealing with me, okay? Where I don't mind getting dirty, but I also don't like my hands to be dirty at the same time, if that makes any sense. Like, don't get anything underneath my nails. Ugh, right? But living a life of transparency is not easy. It's more than just saying, I'm being transparent with you. You know, I preface whenever I'm saying things to people. Listen, Kristen, you understand. Yes. You can't, you know, there's a certain thing that happens when you grow up in Pennsylvania and you grow up in a city as well. I don't know. We built different. Okay. I was born in Gettysburg. All right. Gettysburg is not my home. DC is. That's where I spent the majority of my life. And now South Carolina is becoming my home. But I'm always going to be a DC girl, a DC woman. Okay. So saying in total transparency means that you're willing to be exposed, right? I love that somewhere. Intention. I release the fear that makes me hide and welcome the freedom that comes with living openly. Transparency shall be my strength. I love that. That's going on a t-shirt. Okay? I absolutely love that. Thank you for sharing your intentions. You know, I have had this conversation with some close friends. I've had this conversation with my father. I've had this conversation with my husband. I've had this conversation with my chosen family members. And if I ask you a question, all I want is an answer. That's it. That's it. Just an answer. Right? And believe it or not, if I'm asking you a question, that answer is answering a question in my head about something dealing with me, not you. Okay? Because I know that I am growing in different ways. I know that I am moving differently. But it is important to me for my loved ones to know that even though I am moving differently, my love for them never changes. It is important for me, for you all to know that if I have told you that I love you, that you know that at face value that I love you. I do not say those words lightly, okay? And I know that I'm like this. I have 101 different sisters and, you know, but we are a family in a community, in a collective, right? And whether you be a sister, a cousin, or this, you should be able to decipher the nature of our relationship based on how I interact with you. You know, like literally, you should be able to know how much I care about you based off of how I interact with you when we interact with each other. And I have some people that I am like 10 toes, 10 fingers down for, right? And I don't talk to them but once a year. But they know that all they have to do is send that bat signal and I'm on my way. If I have it, it is theirs. If you know my heart, you know who I am. To know me is to love me, okay? Because all I am is love. Flip side of that, we have balance, okay? Everyone has balance. I choose to be in love. I choose to be the personification of what love should look like, what it should feel like, you know, whether that be tough love, because sometimes you need tough love and you don't even realize it. If you need a nurturing type of love, if you just need that, hey, I'm down with you type of love. Love is love. It's a 4-letter word, but it's also an action, right? It's a feeling that you get, right? Am I wrong? Correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, we're having a conversation, we're conversing, right? All right, so it's an action, it's a feeling that you get, and it's not always intimate. All right, I'm going to let you know that I have been married, happily married, for 16 years. I've been with my husband for 18 years. I love that man, okay? Unequivocally, I love my husband. My husband is my best friend that I get to hang out with, and sometimes we get to be intimate, okay? And that's how I feel marriage is. You should be married to your best friend that you get to have fun with in the bedroom every now and then, okay? Like literally. Because after that physical part goes away, you have to still like this person at the end of the day. You have to still like this person and be comfortable to be who you are. Unapologetically who you are for this person, right? But knowing that it is still okay for you to fall in love with someone's spirit, okay? Because I love love. I fall in love with people every day, okay? And that does not take away from my husband. It does not take away from, you know, how I feel about him. And it's not that type of being in love that you guys are thinking about, okay? This is a spiritual next level type of thing, guys. You know, I find something in someone every single day because I want to see this and I need them to know that it's okay. Yes, I think they call it agape love, right? I mean, I'm just saying that, you know, just to keep that the mainstream stuff, you know, going. But I want to see that because I want you to be able to feel it and be comfortable with that. And the energy that comes with love is just so, and then the transparency that comes with that, right? To be able to look at somebody and be like, you know what, you are such a beautiful person, you know? And I could say that to a man, a woman, a they, a them, a person that identifies as being a rock, a person that identifies as being a couch. I can see that in anyone. It doesn't matter. I can say that because I see the spirit, right? Transparency is like all of that multiplied and multiply, and it keeps multiplying. So I cannot even give you a definitive number. I'm just going to say it's infinity times infinity, love 3,000. I love you 3,000, you know, and beyond, right? But on the other side, you have to have balance. So when you have someone who is being very transparent with you, be accepting of both the positive and the negative part. that comes with transparency. Because just as much as I love you, I will cut you off. Okay? And sometimes I have to cut you off out of love. Respectfully, I will walk out of your life and there will be no big to do. There will be no big argument. All of a sudden, you'll just feel my absence. And I will promise you, it will be nothing to do with what I've done. It's because I've given you chance after chance after chance after chance to be love. But if you can't raise your vibration to meet or even beat where I'm at, I can't have anyone pulling my vibration down. And I refuse to live in a low vibrational space, right? And it's okay to let people go and still hold space for them, right? It just means that in this moment, we're not seeing eye to eye. It doesn't mean that I don't love you. Doesn't mean that I stopped. It just means that I'm pulling my energy back, right? For someone who wants it, not someone who feels entitled to it. And I'm going to say that entitlement, that sense of entitlement will get you caught up with someone like me. Frequencies don't lie. You lie. Okay? I lie. I'm human. But I'm working on that shit. Okay? I'm being transparent. A little lie is still a lie. But because I live in transparency, there's nothing hidden underneath there. I don't have any hidden agendas, right? I don't have any motives except helping you be the best version of you. But you have to want it. And that's what I do, people. Okay? If you want to know what I do for a living, I pour into you. I share my gifts with you. You know, I come on here every day and I say it. I come on here every day for free. I give you my time because I know that, but this is my way of living, right? So when I say make an appointment because my time is valuable. You know, and I'm going to keep doing this because I set that precedence. And my sister also made that very apparent, that when you set a precedence and you stop, you know what I mean? Thank you, Diamond, for subscribing. You know, you can learn a lot when you communicate with people you love. Okay? Literally. I'll go back and read the comments, guys. And I'm also trusting my moderators to answer and interact with you guys. I'm not ignoring you, but they will let me know, you know, what's going on, or if I need to really address something that they can't address, they will let me know, you know. But I will have to say that communication is the heart of love. Openly communicating, clear communication, which means that when you go in, take your defenses down. If a person that you love comes to you, and I think that's the part that hurt, that I got hurt over the weekend, right? Because I even got hurt with my husband. And I'm like, you guys know that I love you. So why would you think that I'm coming at you and asking you a question and it's a setup? Or I have, you know, this or that. You know, if you know my intentions, if you know my heart, then you know that if I'm asking you something, it's coming from love. Just go along with it, right? But I do realize that I have to insert more words and I can't just, yeah. And literally, any resistance to anything that I ask you, or if you find that you feel, that might be a reflection of you. It might be a deflected emotion in that moment. And I used that word yesterday with my sisters when I was talking. We were talking about some stuff and we were joking around and I was just like, that's deflection, guys. Like, y'all, if y'all need to deflect it on me, all right, I take that, right? But I think I couldn't come on here today. I couldn't write anything because I needed to talk to you guys about what transparency is and how vulnerable that makes me, right? But I'm choosing this life. No one asked me to evolve to this. I make, like I said, choosing love and loving on purpose is a decision that you make every single day, throughout the day, right? Anything that happens with you, you come to an impasse every single day with any interaction that you have with anyone. You need to see that as an opportunity to make a decision, right? Think before you speak. Choose your words wisely. Because transparency means that no matter what you say, you stand, yes, Cole, intentional love, right? You stand 10 toes down with whatever you said. Now, when I called my sister yesterday, I apologized to her. I did not apologize for what I said or for the question that I asked, right? And it was it was an innocent question, but I saw how it could have been perceived, which is why I went back, because I take accountability for making someone that I love feel any type of way, right? So I called and I said, I apologize because, I asked the same question to Cliff and Cliff was like, if you ask this question like this, that's a little abrasive, babe. Like you putting somebody on the defense. And I was just like, true. He's like, so how can you, why don't you? And I said, look, I'll call you right back. And I said, thank you. And he said, thank you for what? I said, thank you for giving me some advice, right? Because I started replaying things. Transparency is also taking accountability for how you make someone else feel, right? Especially if your intentions were not to make them feel less than. Okay? So I'm telling you, as a person who chooses to live a transparent life, my intentions are never to make you feel less than, ever. And if you question that, you are the issue, not me. And I'm going to say that part again. If you ever question my intentions or how I do things, or you have any question about what I do, and you don't know, and you claim to know me, or you claim to be getting to know me, or you claim to feel any type of way for me, and if you question that, you are the issue, not me. And I'm going to need you to work that shit out with you and then come back to me and then ask me a question and know that you're going to get a very transparent answer. But be ready for the answer when you get it. That's all I have to say about that part, right? That's true. Defenses will derail intentions, you know? But ask yourself, why are you defensive when you know that your sister loves you, or you know that your brother loves you, or you know that your husband or your wife loves you? Why are you defensive when they ask you a question? Because I found myself being defensive with my husband at times. And I had to realize that my husband loves me. He's not going to do anything to hurt me. So that was a me issue, right? Not a him issue. It was a me issue. Transparency is not an easy life to live, guys. Don't just sit up here and say being transparent, blah, 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 because you're going to take away from the real meaning of what being transparent is. I do not want this to be one of those demure moments or one of those understand moments. I don't want this to be one of those things that gets taken and just used so much that it loses its substance, because transparency, I am proving that is my part of my life's work, is to prove that that is a higher vibration than authenticity. Okay, I deal with frequencies. I deal with, that's what I do. Sound. And yes, I am a scientist, guys. Like, I'm getting ready to do this whole dissertation. You know what that is? That's an experiment, and I have to prove my topic. I have to prove my thesis. I have to defend my dissertation. Okay? And it's all about implementing this into mainstream. Okay? Like, I want to see, in order for you to come up with, to defend your dissertation, you actually have to run an experiment, a test. You have to run tests, right? And you have to have a control, you have to have a test group, and you have to prove what you are saying. And I will prove one day that transparency is higher than authenticity. I said it today. What's today? August 25th at 8:47 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Okay? And it's more than just speaking, it's doing. So what's the first step of transparency and living transparency? Oh, I see who was listening. Who took notes? What's the first step of living a life of transparency? Because it's not easy. He said the club 50 plus. Yeah, it makes you think about some stuff. Check yourself. Yes. Great job, Emerald. Great job, Sweets. Check yourself. Be honest with yourself. Look at yourself. Yes, Country Fried. Honesty with yourself. You have to look in the mirror and say, are you about this life? Because people are messy. People are shady. And where there's light, there's also dark. And the dark is always trying to make the light dark. Okay? It is. You can tell right now. Exactly, John. You can live a life of transparency, but don't be a fool. Okay? Yes. I'm talking to two different platforms, guys, but the conversation is flowing on both sides. And fear can stop you in your tracks and derail your intentions when you have fear. Fear is one of the lowest, if not the lowest frequency that you can live in. You couldn't see the black moon because it wasn't meant for you to see. Like, it's called the black moon because it was completely shaded out. You were supposed to feel it. Okay? Just so you know that. I saw the North Star. I saw the planets that were up there. I saw Venus still up there looking beautiful. The moon was there. I could feel her energy, right? I could feel it, but I damn sure couldn't see it. And I was hoping I'd get like a shadow or something like that. And while I was traveling, I was like, yeah. You did your cleansing ceremony underneath the black moon? I know that was intense, guys. No, you weren't bugging, Linda. But the energy is still running rampant. Remember that around these moons, these moon phases, you've got like a 72-hour window around them. And then it sort of dies off. But the intensity of the moon is so high. Yeah, they are. They have me right here talking to you guys about my way of life. And ask me if I was this way a year ago. I'm going to tell you no. A year ago, I had secrets. A year ago, I had things that I was ashamed of. I didn't want people to know about. But in that year, I have grown to not be ashamed of anything that I've ever done. I don't have secrets. I have privacy. And I hold the things private to myself because everyone deserves that, like just all of that, But when you live a life of transparency, you never have to guess what my intentions are when I ask you a question. Or if we talk about something. Be like, what you mean by that? I mean exactly what I said. There's nothing else behind it. If I said I don't like it, I didn't like it. If I said I loved it, I love it. If I say I want you somewhere, I want you somewhere. If I say I don't want you there, I mean I don't want you there. It's not meant for you. Right? It's meaning being, yes, having those boundaries, staying within your boundaries, respecting yourself, respecting your boundaries. Maybe this is the topic we can talk about on 31 Voices one day. Exactly what does it mean to be transparent, because it's not an easy thing, and you have to have thicker skin. And I'm learning to have thicker skin because I would have cried yesterday, right? I would have, because I was like, well, if she knew my heart, if he knew my heart, why would he even ask me anything other than that? That was my after conversation I had with me. And then I was like, I wasn't clear enough. Let me go back and revisit this conversation with my people. Because you know what? They're worth it. When you have a genuine connection with someone and you have people that you love in your life, you have to know that sometimes they're not meant to go with you in places that you're going to go. But it doesn't mean that you're letting them go. It just means that they're just not there yet, right? It doesn't mean that you can't still hold space for that person. You should, you know? And saying no is love. Saying no to things is a form of self-love. Like, I had to stand, someone asked me for something and I wanted so hard to be able to help this person because I know that if they asked me, they really need it, but I just didn't have. And it hurt me to say no, but I had to, because I can't give at the expense of my family, if that makes any sense. Thank you, Adea. Yeah. Somebody said boundaries are hand in hand with values. Yeah. They also are hand in hand with your integrity. Are you going to compromise your integrity? But these are things that starts with self. So you have to figure out who you are, right? What type of person do you want to live going from this day forward? Because every day actually every minute, okay, I'm going to take it down to a smaller, a minute level. Not every day. Every minute you have the chance to be a different person. You have the choice. You have free will, right? We have free will, and we'll talk about this in depth later. We have free will, but we also have a purpose. And you'll know that free will can derail you from your purpose if you don't know what your intentions are. Okay? Free will is the Most High's. I have to say, I've seen it as free will is the Most High's most powerful joke ever. Because at the end of the day, We don't have any control over anything but how we respond to things, right? But if this path is laid out, and I had this conversation with my cousin Jordan when he was here, right? He was like, so where is it? Is it still free will if you are supposed to, go in this direction? I said, that's where you come into play. Are you going to listen to your intuition, or are you going to listen to your ego? When you learn that free will is your ego, when I found that out, when I found that out, okay, I'm dropping some gems today. I told y'all I was going to drop some gems on you today, okay? Some things that I have come through and some realizations I've had over the past few weeks with just having conversations with the people that are important to me in my life, right? Okay? I'm just going to tell you that. Free will is your ego. To ascend, what are you willing to sacrifice? To grow, you must shed. Okay? Again, Erica Badu. In order for you to grow, a part of you must unalive. Right? Conversation I had with my massage therapist. He's also a spiritualist. He said this to me a year ago. T, what are you willing to sacrifice to get to this next level that you're going into? He's like, because it's coming at you fast. What are you willing to sacrifice? Miss B had this conversation with me about 2 years ago, 3 years ago. Baby girl, you getting ready, you getting on this train. You're getting on this train. It's moving like this, baby. I'm telling you how she talks, right? She's like, it's going to be moving like this. Remember, you're going to have to let go of some things as you're moving, right? Down to the very first conversation I had with my shaman, when I met my shaman, the first time I walked the medicine wheel, he said, you're planting seeds. Everything is moving fast. You've got to be ready for change. You don't like change. You're going to have to grow comfortable with it. A part of you, let's go. And what part of that are you willing to let go of? And then I was having a conversation with me and the Most High, and I said, I get it. My free will is my ego. But for me to be able to tell you how I got to that point, you have to understand how I realized that we actually do have free will. And I'm going to rewind, and I'm going to take it back to January 2021 when my heart stopped, when I was very sick. My heart stopped twice when I was in a hospital. Okay, I'm in the ICU. Everybody knows it stopped for 3 seconds, 2 nights in a row. Okay, I don't need to revisit all of that. Okay. But what I will say is, when my cardiologist came in the room, when she was releasing me, and she said to me, right, the only explanation that I can tell you for your heart, because your heart is perfectly healthy, she said, it just beats slower because you're an athlete. It's strong. Do not ever let anyone, she said, if anyone ever says they want to put a pacemaker in your chest, you tell them, go to hell. Okay? She said it point blank. She was like, but I have to be very frank with you, Miss Mika. She said, the only explanation I can give you is that you gave up your will to live. Wow. Okay? You gave up your will to live. And during that moment, when I was like, I'm done, the Most High said, no, it's not your time. No, I have plans for you. I said no, right? I know that there is a bigger thing around me because of what I heard in those seconds. And I will tell you that God's voice is not a voice, it's everything. And when you realize that God is everything, the universe is everything, we are all interconnected. God is here. He's not some dude just chilling up there, going like this and playing puppeteer with people. Okay? I didn't see lights or anything like that. All I heard was no. Okay? Because I was still very present, because I could still hear what was going on. I heard them call a code, and then I heard no, and then I heard her say, never mind, she's back. Right? But that's my experience. Everyone has a different experience. Right? Same thing the next night. I said with a very authoritative voice. So, when you're at church and they say, the voice is, the thing that you should fear is the fear of God. The fear of God. The fear of God. Right? And I'm like, if God is loving, why do I have to fear him? Right? But then it made sense when you hear the universe and it says no, and it's the sound of everything all at one time. And what I mean by everything, I'm going to say it again, C major, when an orchestra is playing, or everyone or a band is getting together on the same note to make sure that they are all vibing together on the same frequency, right? It said no. It wasn't a voice. It formulated the word that I could understand, right? But I sat there with that information for 6 weeks before I even spoke about it with my husband. Exactly. Rushing wind with sound. It's like, but it makes a word. Thank you, Zen. I have not been able to describe that, but it's exactly what it was like. It was like, no, right? And it was like, did you hear that? She said, hear what? I'm like, nothing. Never mind, right? Same thing happened the next night, different nurse, same tech, right? Tech says, she said the same thing last night. That's weird. The next night, I heard a voice, and I know that that voice was one of my angels, right? They didn't even get to start compressions on me or shock me or anything, because it was like 3 seconds. But in that 3 seconds, I learned everything I needed to know to get me on my path that I am right here. I learned to get outside of myself, to release my ego, and I'm continuing to learn to do this more and more. And as I continue to evolve, I'm not going to keep this information to myself. I'm going to share it with you because I want you to grow too, right? So I'm going to have these conversations, and I am going to be very transparent, and I am going to say what I have to say, but I don't have to say names, okay? And I'm only using these as examples because I can only speak from my experiences, right? But I'm having real, genuine conversations with people that I love, right? And I'm like, guys, you know who I am. Or at least I think you do. Because sometimes I look in the mirror and I don't know who I am, because I am evolving and I have to pick up where it is. And I have my truth tellers around me who feel comfortable enough to say, no, you're not tripping. Or, yeah, that might just be a you thing. And then I go and start thinking about me, and I check myself. AMZ, you are God. I say that respectfully. God is in all of us, okay? And I say the most high because I don't want to be exclusive of anybody's religion, okay? So forgive me for not saying Jesus or for not saying God. I don't want to be exclusive to anyone's religious beliefs or who they deem as the creator. But I do know that there's only one. There's only one, okay? Depending on how you were brought up, where you were brought up is how you, yeah, you know. And it says it in man's Bible that we were created in his image. So that means that if we were created in God's image, then those are the words. But you're not listening to the words because they're being interpreted by a man who has biases, who has their own interpretation based off of what's going on in their world, right? Not taking anything away from people who are out here doing what they're supposed to do, and that is getting the word out that there is something that you can be positive, right? I grew up in the church, you know, but I just don't follow a book. I follow what the Creator shows me every day. I had a conversation with my dad yesterday, and I was like, the synesthesia is beautiful, to be able to see the sounds and to be able to see the colors and all of that is beautiful. And I'm like, and it's wild to me that it's developing more and more. And I'm noticing that I'm becoming more and more in tune with the pulse of the earth, which is why when we're doing our meditations, I always want you to get to the pulse of the earth, right? Because we're all interconnected. And we have to see and take accountability for what we're doing to our earth because the earth is angry. Look up Schumann resonance. Thank you, Dottie, for that. Okay, Dottie put me on to that. I learn a lot from the people around me because, again, I don't know everything. I don't. I'm hyper intelligent. I'm uber intelligent, right? But I'm learning every single day, and I think that's what makes me even smarter is because I want to learn more every single day. I wake up, thinking that something magical is always going to happen every single day, right? That I'm going to learn something from someone, and I set out to see who it is that's going to teach me something, right? And yesterday, I was taught a lot about me, right? Through the eyes of my sister, my husband, my other sister, my bestie, my dad, and my cousin, right? I was taught a lot about me and how I can be a better person, how I can be a better communicator, and how I can explain who I am in transparency effectively and not sound like a narcissist up here. You know what I mean? Like, again, you have to make that choice to remove the ego. You have to make the choice. And it's not something that's going to happen. You have to make that choice in everything that you do. I can't just say, oh, I removed my ego. No, because that ego is still there. Okay? But you have to make that conscious decision and being mindful. And I can't wait for our retreat coming up in 30 something days, because when I tell you please, those of you who are coming, please come with an open heart, an open mind, and be ready to be poured into, right? Be ready to be poured into. Be ready to get from it what you need, because that is my intention, is for you to my intention is for you to leave different. When you leave, I want you to leave with some tools that help you, you know, to navigate life after our retreat. But I also want you to leave with a sense of fulfillment and feel full, you know. I'm on here every morning at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I go live on both TikTok and YouTube. Yes, I want you to leave full. I'm going to go back here and read the comments. Always said our goal is to plant the seed and hope someone else will water it. I see it all the time. Not everyone is meant to stay or remain on your journey. Thank you for sharing yourself with us. It's my pleasure, babe. Definitely. It felt like it ripped through you, but not in a bad way, just humbling. Yes. Very buoyant. Yes. I see why I have so many blank moments. Yeah. And in likeness, the Creator dwells within us. We just have to listen. Yeah. Who is upset and defending themselves? I hope you don't feel like I'm upset, because I'm not upset at all. Oh, look, I'm neurodivergent. So if you are, this is the right channel for you, honey. Okay. Earth. Yes, Earth is very upset. Okay. Yeah, ADHD, listen, you're not a mess. You're perfectly perfect the way you are. And most of us are. Welcome. I'm part of your world as well. Hi, Donna. Dada Vida Corleone. Thank you guys for the 14 thumbs up. Don't be lonely. You're never alone. So I do need some suggestions for some meditations. What would you all like to touch base on? What would you like to touch on this week? You've learned that I am very expressive, and that's what makes my authenticity unique. Thank you for seeing me. Thank you for the rose, you know. But please go over to my YouTube and subscribe if you're over on YouTube and you're not on my TikTok. Please go over there, subscribe over there as well. And that way you don't miss me, because sometimes I just go live over on TikTok. I try to keep everything centralized over here to just spirituality and Elysium. I stopped taking those a long time ago. I'm on everything completely holistic now when it comes to that. You're not exploding. You're good. Just keep communicating in the chat. Stop apologizing. Don't have to apologize for communicating. Yeah, I stopped. I started leaning into the chaos. And so I help. Oh, thank you, Sincere. Yeah, I help a lot of my clients with that, with yeah, leaning into the chaos instead of trying to numb it, to lean into it and to literally, learn how to find your peace in the chaos. Like, that's pretty much, that's why we have real life sound baths here. Yeah. We get a little bit of the bowls, you know? because that frequency, buffalo. All right, my loves. That's what we do most mornings, guys. I do play the crystal singing bowls. I am a certified master sound healer. Um, I needed to play it, and it felt good just now. Yes, it felt good. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Just for those few seconds. Hey, Sumu, welcome. Yeah, we had a bowl happen. That happened to a bowl on live one time when I was playing. But nevertheless, guys, continue to live in your transparency. We will continue to go over transparency as I feel compelled to share a little bit more. But this really, the first one, right? The first, just get to the first step. Look within you. Okay? Look within you. Oh, I love that, Emerald. She is so beyond her years. I'm just going to tell y'all, she's my little grandmother spider over there. You know, I apologize for not coming on here with, a guided meditation, but I just felt the need to communicate with you guys what transparency feels like and what it is. And yeah, you're going to get your feelings hurt being transparent because you're going to expect people just to understand that this, and this. But not everyone gets it until you explain it to them. So when you are on this journey, right, know that you're going to have to explain it probably a few times. And then you're going to have to walk it, talk it, and live it, right? And then it'll click. And then every now and then you'll find a beautiful person that just understands you straight off the jump. And that person who's that person in my life, thank you for being who you are. Thank you for seeing me. Okay? So someone in here needed to hear the message, right? We are here Monday through Friday at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you would like a private session, please go to my website, www.elysiumlbc.com. Queen C, thank you for keeping everything going on over here. Thank you to my mods on both sides. You all are amazing. I appreciate you all for keeping the chat engaged, as well as answering questions that I don't see, and bringing to light the things that you guys need me to answer. Good. I know someone said that, they had somewhat like a weekend like I did. I had a beautiful weekend. Okay. When I say it was beautiful, I mean a beautiful weekend. I went away for one day and it felt like a 5-day vacation. But I did wake up today feeling like I went on a 5-day vacation because I realized that I did a lot of walking, a lot of stuff yesterday, and a lot of driving, And unbeknownst to people, I don't like driving, okay? I really don't. I do it because it's a necessity. It's cheaper to drive than it is to fly. And it just, But at some point in time in my life, I'll get to the point where it's okay for me to spend the money just to enjoy the time. But we got to take it one day at a time, right? One step at a time. And then know that Elysium is being launched completely, like the one of the beginning of the final stage of this, because I have to say that it's an ever growing thing in about 30 days. Thank you, Katie. Katie said, I'll drive for you. Hey, come on. Let's go. Yeah, so our first our first retreat is coming up. And I can't be more happier than I am right now. Like, legitimately, it's like Christmas is coming, and I know, right? But guys, I gotta go because I gotta go get Mary up in a world full of negativity. Choose love, love on purpose, and y'all have an amazing day. Okay, hopefully I'll hear from a couple of you, and we can set up an appointment sometime that this week because I do have some openings. Hi, Latoya. Love you too. Thank you all for listening today and having this conversation. If you really want to party with me,